Hello, everyone. This is Tom Painter. Thank you again for being with us, and welcome to our Facebook friends from around the world. We've had people from 80 countries come to the site. SuccessandMoneyFoundation.org. We're a nonprofit educational foundation. Our goal is to improve people's lives. It's to help those in need. All of us are in need. All of us need a hand. All of us need some success secrets and techniques so that we can have a better life. And more importantly, so you can have a better life for those that you love. I'm so excited to have our first guest on. This is Carine Clark. Carine and I have been friends for many years. We do a lot of investing together as well. And it's because of what she said from the podium when I was at a big conference that I just fell in love with this gal. She's somebody that I could follow, somebody that I can believe in, someone that is really giving and wants to help other people. She is just so generous with her time and energy, even though she's been running these massive big companies, and she's done an amazing job of out there helping people. She's a cancer survivor. She's an advocate. And most importantly, she's an inspirational story. And so I'm so excited to have her on with us today. And she is going to be taking a couple segments and teaching us, because again, the goal here is to improve people's lives. The way you improve people's lives is with money, education, and with knowledge. Now, money is the easiest part. Everybody thinks that's the hard part. If I just had more money. Well, it's not. It's the education. And more importantly, it's pulling the trigger. It's executing and doing something, even if it's just okay. Do something and don't be afraid to fail. You need to fail. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You need to fail more, learn from it, and then continue on. I want to give her a big shout out and a thank you, because she's been an advocate for the Success and Money Foundation, and she has introduced us to many people. She is on the board of directors of Domo, and so as you see these incredible stats that we're able to pull, as we're grabbing information, stats from all over the world, and making this fun and competitive with individuals, with groups, with referrals and things like that, it's because of this wonderful company that she's on the board of directors of with Domo. So I'm going to turn the time over to her. Carine, thank you so much, and take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Gosh, I just want to join this call every day because I feel so good when Tom talks about me. I'm so happy to be here, so delighted to be here, and so impressed by the work that Tom and team have done. So congratulations. Tom's right. I do serve on the board of directors of Domo, but Tom, I want to let you know I'm actually the chairman of the board for Domo. And the reason that's an interesting point is that I don't think there are many female chairmen of the board of publicly traded tech companies. And when someone asked me the other day, they said, "You're the chairman?" I'm like, "I know, right? A girl." And they're like, "Yeah, you don't see that very often." Well, we're going to change that, because there's so much that we can do, even when we don't think that we can do it. So today I'm going to talk to you about risk. I'm going to talk to you about fear. I'm going to talk to you about embracing disruption. And this is something that's really close to me, because you wouldn't see it, but most people don't know that I was paralyzingly shy as a young person. Most people don't know that I couldn't even raise my hand in class. I was a mathlete at a young age, and I was too afraid to share the answers because I didn't want to get it wrong. I was too afraid to go to dances. I was too afraid to go and try things. And so when people see me today, they say, "Oh gosh, she's so lucky. She's so, she's been able to achieve all these things." It's like, what they don't understand is that it takes a long time to get over these types of fears. But I'm going to share with you some of my secrets today. So a lot of us talk about risk. We think about risk. And unfortunately, I think that we probably have the wrong idea of risk. It feels like it's something that's super negative. But if we can start looking at risk differently, and we can kind of break free from kind of the baggage of risk, because risk actually is an opportunity for us to actually do more things. Things like adventure. When we talk about adventure, oh, that's exciting, right? Oh gosh, that would be so great if we could have more adventure in our life. But too many times, we are actually afraid, and we're afraid to fail. Sometimes we're afraid to succeed, or sometimes there's tremendous pressure to succeed. If you think about some of the research, the world's top psychologists said that fear of failure always crops up as the number one thing that most people will tell you, that they're afraid of failing. And what they found out that it's not, people aren't born with a lack of self-confidence. that we learned socially about failure. So in the schools that I went to, when you raised your hand to give an example or an answer, and if it was wrong, it felt horrible. And so like we were afraid to give the wrong answer. And that's exactly the wrong way to do, wrong way to be. We should be raising our hand all the time. Even if we don't know, we should be being part of the conversation. And the real failure is never, ever starting. So I have two sons. My youngest son wanted to be on the high school basketball team. He tried out in junior high, didn't make it. Tried out the second year of junior high, didn't make it. He tried out as a freshman and he said, "Mom, you think I really should try out?" And these words actually came out of my mouth. I said, "The only failure is to stop trying." And I thought, gosh, maybe a good mother would say, "No, you shouldn't try out because the failure's too much." Well, he tried out and he made it. And we were all surprised. But when I talked to the coach later, they said, no kid has ever tried harder to be on a team. This kid showed up early, he stayed late. He put the balls away, he dribbled left-handed when I told him, he never complained. And so he deserves a spot on the team. And I think we forget sometimes that the real success is showing up and staying on the conveyor belt. So we think about two cliffs. The one on the left is the cliff that you're on today. And the other one represents, the one on the right represents where you want to be. And too many times we see this as, gosh, it's so far, I can't make it. And so we don't try. And we stay on the side with no grass. And it actually means that we're not growing if we don't try. And too many times we think about disruption as a bad thing. We think that, oh gosh, if I feel uncomfortable, it's gonna be bad. Too many times we let fear determine our fate. And that was me when I was young. I didn't go to any school activities. I didn't try out for any teams because I was too afraid I wasn't gonna make it. And so I was letting fear determine my fate. We need to unpack disruption, take fear out of it, because we can never become the person that we were meant to be. We'll never be able to achieve the full measure of success if we let fear stop us from doing the things that we want to do, that we want to try. And so I always tell people, it's okay to have fear and to feel fear, but feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't let fear stop you from trying things. A lot of people think that failure is the opposite of success. It's actually not. Failure is the stepping stone to success. When I speak at public functions, I always ask questions or take questions at the end. And I notice that there's few people that will raise their hand and raise it in the group. And then afterwards, I have like a mob come and talk to me afterward. I'm like, why didn't you raise your hand in the session? Oh, well, I was worried my question would be wrong. I'm thinking to myself, well, what does that mean that your question would be wrong? There's probably someone else in the audience that would benefit from hearing your question. Don't let fear determine your fate. Just try it, do it anyway. What's the worst thing that could happen? You might fail. Okay, guess what? You pick yourself up, you do it again. You take the wrong step, guess what? You recalibrate, you take a different step. Don't let fear stop you from doing things that you want to do. Take a chance. The chance really is the possibility of something happening. I didn't become chairman of the board of a publicly traded company because I didn't take the chance. There was an opportunity, I raised my hand, I was elected to it, and then I was actually surprised when I was elected. And then I thought, I've never done this before. There's nothing about me that says I can do this. Even I have fear, you guys. And turns out I'm actually pretty good at it because I care about people, because I'm organized, because I'm a student, because I go and study what some of the best board directors do. I didn't let fear stop me, even though it popped its head up. And so remember, we're not born knowing how to do everything. We have to take chances. We have to go out there and put ourselves out there. And we have to take risk. I love this image because this little tiny goldfish sees the opportunity, sees the potential, and he's going to get himself out of that little tiny bowl, and he's going to get himself to a bigger bowl. It's the same thing with us thinking about going to school or trying for another job. You know, sometimes we only apply for jobs if we know we can get it. That's ridiculous. We should try for jobs, even if we don't think that we're going to get it. So I have a young person that I mentor. She graduated from college. She's a single mom. She was a single mom at 17. Didn't think she could go to college. Helped her get herself into school, and it was a hard road for her. She had to find childcare. She had to find a part-time job, but she took the chance. She graduated in 3 short years because she did not get off the conveyor belt. She graduated in IT. She had this job she wanted to apply for. I said, great, apply for the job. She applied. She didn't get the job. She was devastated because 1, she needed the job, and 2, she really wanted the job, and 3, she felt completely qualified. So when she didn't get the job, I said, okay, this is just a step. I want you to call the recruiter back. I want you to ask the recruiter, why didn't I get the job? And we're going to practice how to do this, because you don't attack the recruiter. You say things like, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview for this wonderful company. I want to be here. I'm a single mom. It helps me to have feedback on what I could have done differently because I do need to get a job. See, what I did is frame it in a way that the person you're talking to can help you. Because guess what? I find that people want to be helpful. They want to help you get to a spot. So the recruiter accommodated and said, yes, you were a great candidate, but we had an internal candidate that was already in process that we gave the job to. And we had concerns because you didn't have experience as a Scrum Master, which was the job she was applying for. And she didn't have experience. And she said, thank you so much. You're right, I don't have experience, but here's the experience I do have that could translate into this job. And if there are any jobs that are open in the future and you think of me, please let me know. 2 weeks later, the recruiter called her back and said, we have another Scrum Master job. Would you like to interview for that? She said, yes, I would. She went in there. Guess what? She got the job. Next hurdle, they gave her an offer, and it wasn't as much money as she wanted or needed. So she called me and said, oh, I don't think I can take the job because it's not enough money. I said, how much money do you need? So she needed $5,000 more for her to be able to make her bills, to pay back her school loans, to be able to take care of her family. So we practiced. And I said, thank you. I said, here's what you do. You call them back and you say, thank you so much. I'm so excited to join the company. This is exactly what I wanted. My salary requirements are a little higher than the offer that you have for me. I need $5,000 more. Is it possible to be able to increase the offer? And guess what they said? They said, yes, no problem. She was not going to ask. She was going to walk away and start over and try to find another job because she was afraid to ask. The worst thing that could happen is that they could say no, and you can still decide if you want to take it or not, but they said yes. Now, this young woman who I just love and adore, fast forward now, she has a very good paying job. She can take care of herself in lots of ways. And when she bought a brand new Tesla, she drove it to my house and she said, this is what not being afraid looks like. And I'm like, yep, that's right. And so even though we still, it pops up and we still can be afraid, we feel the fear and move through it anyway. If you don't try, you'll never know. Just like my son, he played basketball on the varsity team his entire career. And he wasn't the best player, but he had the biggest heart. He had the best work ethic. And when he graduated from high school, the coach said, I have never seen a player with a better work ethic. He wasn't smarter than everyone else. He wasn't more skilled. But he had the best work ethic. And he never would have had that experience of trying, playing with a team, traveling all over the state, and having wonderful experiences and even hard times if he hadn't tried. So if you never try, you'll never know. And you don't get to say, oh, woe is me, I never got to do this, if you never try and keep trying. So years ago, I play in a rock and roll band, believe it or not. I'm the least talented member of the band, but these boys, I call them the band boys, super talented. And they came to me years ago. They were all employees of mine when I was at one of my companies. And they said, we want to form a band. And I said, fantastic. They said, we want to form a corporate band. I said, super. We want you to be in it. No way. No way. As the person who's paralyzingly shy, no way. And they said, we're not going to do it unless you do it. I said, look, I have a keyboard. I was trained classically. I'll give you the keyboard. I will make sure that you have everything that you need. But no way am I playing a band. No way. They waited for me for more than a year. And I said, okay, I'll just do one gig, just one performance. So played in one performance, and it was amazing. Now I was like throwing up beforehand, but it was so much fun to see the reaction of the audience. It was so much fun to be with people that I care about and to play for customers. That was 18 years ago. And this band has traveled all over the world. We've played in Vienna, in Malta. We've played in the south of France. We played in Orlando. We played in Las Vegas. We played in some of the biggest clubs, and we were headliners. We played for companies like Intel. We competed in the Battle of the Corporate Bands, and we were one of the finalists. We were the only band that had all employees. All the other bands had studio musicians mixed in with the band. We didn't win the battle, but we were the finalists. And so we were one of the final acts, and we got to play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And to this day, we still talk about how we really won because we made it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, Tom mentioned that I'm a cancer survivor. I did 18 months of chemotherapy. I had ovarian cancer, horrible, horrible cancer, and with a 20% chance of beating it. And these band members came and played at my house at lunchtime once a week. And they sang songs to me from The Cure. And they really, really were a support system for me, because there's this weird kind of intimacy that happens when you play on stage in front of a live audience, in front of an audience with people that you care about. And I had said to them, all right, fellas, when I die, if I die from this cancer, I don't want my sons to be my pallbearers. I want you to be my pallbearers. And one of my bandmates said, well, how much do you weigh? And I thought, okay, this is how it's going to go. And then the other bandmate said, oh, you just want us to let you down one more time. And so we just played at the Pillar of the Valley event, which was one of the awards that I got recently. I was so proud to be there with them, playing for customers. And my kids have grown up with us playing in the band. So this is me in Vienna, just having such a great time. And I never, ever would have done this if I let fear stop me. One of the other things that I do is I'm a venture investor, and I invest in a lot of companies with Tom, companies that might fail, companies that might do well. And venture can be really scary, but it's a pretty exciting place to find great entrepreneurs and companies that are going to make a difference. You know, I think about fear. Not everybody loves venture. Not everybody loves, you know, being explorers. But if you think about fear, I want you to think about this acronym. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And we do this to ourselves. We tell ourselves things that aren't true. And we need to adjust our mindset. I have a granddaughter. Tom has a lot of grandchildren. I have one. And she's fearless. She's little. She's a little tiny, tiny human. And she's not afraid of anything. I worry about her a lot. But she looks at fear as it's not an obstacle to her. It's a challenge. It's something that she tries to figure out. And she's not uncomfortable. So we need to be more like little kids in that we look at it as a game. Like, what can I do? What can I do to win this lap? So do you know that Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel when he was in his 30s? And at 87, he said, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to achieve. And when I took my family to the Sistine Chapel, and I remember looking up at that and I was like, okay, this is a message to me to always be a student, to always be thinking of things that we can still learn about. Last Friday, I bumped into this craft called amigurumi. It's a Japanese art of knitting or crocheting little animals, little stuffed animals out of yarn. And so I went online and got a pattern, and my sister and I this weekend crocheted these little animals, and I made a little narwhal for my granddaughter. It looked so cute, and it wasn't like super easy, but it wasn't really that hard either. It just took me a few minutes of trying a couple things, and I am still a student. I'm still trying to learn new things, and I think I'm really gonna like this new craft, by the way. This is Latin, Fortis Fortuna Auduvat. And this means, I'm sure most of you know this, that fortune favors the brave. That it's not just luck, because I don't actually believe in luck. I think that those people who are not afraid to take a step and to adjust and to recalibrate and to learn and to make mistakes, that are optimistic about their future, that are positive. They always, they don't just look for the good in things. They're happy to be there. And they're not afraid of making a mistake. They're self-healing in a way that they see an opportunity and they see disruption and they just run through it. When I had cancer, talk about disruption. There's no cancer in my family, none. And to hear that you have a horrible cancer, oh, and you have two cancers, you have cancer of the appendix and ovarian cancer, and only a 20% chance of beating it, it would have been easy to just curl up in a ball and just decide, okay, it's just too hard. But my sons were 9 and 17 at the time, and I looked at their faces and I thought to myself, I need to show them what it means to stand up to something really awful, because they're going to have something really awful in their lives. And so I said to my doctor, okay, I have a 20% chance of beating this. What do I need to do to be part of the 20% or the new 21? That's what it means that fortune favors the brave, because you have to be brave when you have hard things. You have to be brave to get through school. You have to be brave. You have to be bold to do some of the things that you guys can do. And you need to have courage over comfort. So pay attention to your lens. Pay attention to how you look at risk. Pay attention to how you look at disruption. Is it a threat to you? Because I'm telling you that disruption is one of the best things that can happen to you, because guess what happens to all of us? And it means that you're growing. And if you start to feel comfortable, it's an indicator that you're probably not growing. None of us have perfect lives. We look across, we see, wow, they have it so easy. They have everything given to them. They have, it's like they're just successful because they just were born. Not the case. Most entrepreneurs I talk to, they're not any smarter than anyone else. They're actually not more afraid of risk. They're just not afraid to fail, and they just keep showing up and they just keep going. One of my really close friends started 17 companies in 19 years. He failed at 18 of them. I told him if I was his wife, I would have left him after 2 because it's so hard on a family. But he had failure after failure after failure. And he learned something from every one of those failures. And I have so much respect for him because he never gave up. And guess what? His 17th company in 19 years, he made a fortune, and he uses that to solve problems. He pays for scholarships, he helps other people, and he helps a lot of entrepreneurs. So embrace disruption, run to it. You're going to learn things. You're going to be fine. When you have fear, feel the fear and do it anyway. And when you feel anxiety, you know that anxiety and excitement manifests itself in the exact same way in your brain. Biologically, it's the same thing. So I don't want to minimize anyone's anxiety, but don't let it stop you. I have a paralyzing fear of speaking publicly, believe it or not. So in college, I got a minor in speech because I knew it was going to be a problem for me. I knew it was going to stop me. I knew it was going to slow me down. Don't let fear determine your fate. Pay attention to when you're not doing something. And I'm not saying throw yourself recklessly into something. I'm saying be smart about it, educate yourself, but don't be afraid to take the risk. And the trick I use to help me get through some of my scariest moments is I ask myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? And then I answer it. And then I ask myself, can I survive it? And 100% of the time, when I ask myself, can I survive it? I say, yes, I can. And it frames the moment in a way where it's like, yeah, I can do this. When I was diagnosed with cancer, my protocol was 2 cancer drugs every 3 weeks for 6 months. Well, I'm a student, so I found a protocol that was 3 cancer drugs every single week for 6 months and 1 cancer drug every 21 days for a year, 18 months of chemo. And I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to feel horrible. But if I do this really hard protocol, I think I can survive it. And I did. And I was the only one in my cohort that survived. It's not because I was better than anyone else. Maybe I was just lucky, because not everyone survives cancer. But my doctor would say that when I said to him, what do I have to do to be part of the 21% survivors? He said, your oncologist and I knew at that moment that you were going to face this differently, that you were going to take it head on, that you were not going to let anything stop you. So when I say courage over comfort, it really is the best way to go. Because when you have courage over comfort, you're saying, I'm willing to have some discomfort right now instead of carrying a lot of resentment later because I didn't try something, because I let fear determine my fate. Courage over comfort in speaking up, courage over comfort in taking on heavy challenges. So now I've told you my superpower. I feel the fear and I do it anyway. And I make a ton of mistakes, but I have framed failure in a much different way. My lens on failure is that it's just a stepping stone to my success. And it's an opportunity for me to learn, for me to grow, and for me to just keep going. Because I already know I'm going to die. And since I didn't die, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep learning. And every single one of us can do that. So thank you for your time today. I hope there was at least something that I shared with you that makes sense to you, that resonates with you, and that will help you.
Thanks, Carine. I so appreciate you being with us today. What's amazing about Carine's story and what's amazing about a lot of people's story, when I was 34, I had a heart attack. And, you talk about how it's changed your life and the trajectory of where your life was at. 34 years old, as they were wheeling me into the operating room, I was wondering, was I coming back? 1/3 of the people who have a heart attack die. They're just gone. The first sign you have any problem is death. And I was lucky. I was in that 2/3. But it had a huge impact on my life. I had 2 special needs children at the time. And how am I going to create systems? What's going to happen to my special needs kids and my family if I'm not here to help them? And so I was lucky, every day, I think about, I'm on borrowed time. I was given time that I probably shouldn't have been here, both of us. And we don't take these days for granted. We've had our up days, health-wise and stuff like that. I've had some of the same. I understand because of the heart issues that I had, how it just dragged me down and took my businesses down. When you got your health, health is the most important thing you can have. And if you don't have it and you don't feel good and you don't have the energy, then it just really, really takes a major toll on your businesses and family and stuff like that. So that's why health is so important, that you've got to keep track of that. But you're going to get thrown curveballs. You're going to get thrown curveballs. Mine has been back surgeries. I've had 2 major back surgeries, and I've had my heart attack. But the one thing that it taught me is that I've got to create systems. I've got to be able to create systems and be able to teach those that I love, because one of these days I'm going to be gone. And so all the systems I've created, the businesses we've created, the legacy programs, the wealth programs, all that was created. And I can kind of go back, Steve Jobs says you connect going backwards, you connect the dots going backwards. Well, I can connect back to some of the health issues that I had and the systems I created to take care of these special needs children. And as that stuff has grown and grown and grown, because I bought so much real estate, I did so many small businesses and entrepreneurial businesses and MLM and all that stuff, that now my special needs kids are taken care of. And with that excess, we're putting it into the foundation. So adversity can put you on the path to make a huge difference in your life. And this foundation, part of this foundation was created because of the adversity that I had back in the day. Now, Carine's an incredible cancer. My father passed away from cancer. It's just ugly. We want to avoid it at all costs. But it's amazing. I'm so appreciative to Carine for what she's done. She's just an amazing woman. She's been a great advocate for me, and she probably doesn't even think that, because we've had a handful of conversations. She's connected me with people. We do some of the same investing together with investing groups. But she's been a great advocate that I could do this, because honestly, I'm going to be real straight with you. I didn't think this was going to work. I really didn't think the foundation was going to work. But I knew I had to try, and I knew I was okay if it failed. I really was. I'm okay if it fails. I'm not okay if I don't try. And so it literally took us 2 years of building it, tearing it down, building it again, starting over, tearing it down, until it got to be where it was, because we had 6th graders that figured out how to cheat on the system and get points without going to class. So I had to tear the whole thing down and start all over just to stop that. But she's always been an advocate, putting me together with people and being encouraging. And then this last year, it's just really taken off. And so I just want to tip my hat to her and thank her for being such an inspiration for me, an advocate for me. And she probably doesn't even know it. She probably doesn't know just because a player said, that's a great idea, you can make that work. She showed it to Josh James, the founder of Domo, because I'd known him before. But that's what successful people are givers. They really are. You think that successful people would be stingy SOBs. Opposite. They're 100% opposite. Now, there are some people that have made a lot of money quickly that are just jerks. We get that. But that's a small percentage. And if they are, they don't last. They don't last very long. It's the people who are giving that want to help other people. Zig Ziglar said it best. The only way you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. And that's exactly what Carine's been doing her whole time. And as the chairman of Domo, I am so grateful for them, because it was Domo for Good. My friend Greg Olson was the one that introduced me to Domo for Good. And they jumped in there and worked with us on this program. And then we've piled a lot of money into it since that time. But just imagine being able to pull data from all over the world and make this competitive. And that's why the system is working so well. So I want to thank my good friend, Carine. We're going to say goodbye to our Facebook friends from around the world. And luckily, she's going to be able to come back on for another segment. So Carine, any last words before we close this?
Just so honored to be here. Thank you, everyone. And please never give up. Never give up. You get to determine your fate.
It's just a journey. Enjoy the journey. Everybody says, well, when I get older, when I get to be 65, I'll enjoy my life. Well, the problem with that is the next big major event for you is death. So don't be waiting to enjoy your life. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the failures. It's just a game. I sometimes flippantly say, we're not curing cancer because it's just a game. I got smart people to do that. We're just having fun and we're playing the game. And so that's why we call it Play the Game of Success and Money. Anyway, thank you so much, Carine. We've got people we can just see the chat boards just lighten up with comments and questions and stuff like that. But we're going to say goodbye to our Facebook friends, and we're going to come right back for another segment with Carine Clark. Thanks, everybody. See you in just a second.